You look like you're probably 28. So, 15 to 28 isn't very long.
I'll take it.
But you got a 20-year-old daughter.
Level 51, I call it, because I would never call myself 51 years old. Every level I got stronger, smarter, and faster. That's how I
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Beat Austin Show, where we talk to thought leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs who have done remarkable things in their career. Today, I have a friend of mine. His name is Mike. Mike, introduce yourself. Tell everybody what you do and who you are.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Super excited to be here. I'm Mike Aguilera. I live in New Jersey. A little bit about my background. Started out as an electrician, maybe like some of you watching the show, struggling contractor. Figured out how to do marketing, sales, operation. I grew that business from under $1 million to 32 million, double-digit profit, 165 trucks, 200 employees. I sold that as a walk-away deal in 2017, signed my name and walked away, like probably a lot of you hope to do someday. And that brought me to build another company called CEO Warrior. It's the top training and implementation organization in the world for the blue-collar space. So plumbers, HVACs, electricians. Built that up in just about 7 years and just did a huge acquisition in that in the middle of a pandemic in 2020. Took on an amazing PE firm with us. And then I started another company called Food Dog Group, which now is my whole theory is to supersize anything. You got to superhuman yourself. So that's what I do today.
That's awesome, dude. I love talking to entrepreneurs who, especially like I used to be known as the hearing aid guy. Grant used to be known as the car guy. You were probably known as what, the HVAC guy, or the what would you have been known for if people met you 10 years ago?
Probably the tattoo guy first.
The tattoo guy. There you go.
The tattoo guy, and probably the electrician guy, right? Like
electrician guy.
Grinding it out, doing electrical work.
So there you go. So people are like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm an electrician. Like, and then they go tell their friend, I met this nice guy. He's got a bunch of tattoos. He's the electrician.
Right.
And you get kind of boxed into people's thoughts about who you are because of what you do to some extent. And then you rock a business where you become a multimillionaire, and then you do it again. And then you dedicate yourself to helping other people, which you and I, when we talked, we're so similar that way that's kind of what the inspiration is today. And so I love to share forward-thinking thought leaders who have actually done it, because, there's a lot. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but especially when I wasn't a social media guy, right? I was a conservative kind of traditional business operator. Yeah. I got into the space and I started looking at all the people out there teaching how to build businesses and selling classes on it. And so I was like, oh, wow, this space is pretty saturated. And as I started going through it, I realized most of those guys had never actually built or sold anything.
Yeah.
So what's been your experience with the phony balonies, the bullshitters?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Everybody thinks because they started something or they read a book that they're a guru. The fact is that you read Think and Grow Rich. It's funny when I speak, and sometimes I speak to a couple thousand people. I always ask, like, who read the book Think and Grow Rich, and everybody wants to put their badge of honor on that. And I say, okay, but how many of you are rich? They're all broke, right? So maybe they don't know how to read the book. Maybe it's the wrong book. I don't know. But yeah, the world's filled with these guys today. Look, if they have good intentions, that's great, but they don't understand that. And you guys know this in your world. Like, there's a sense of responsibility of giving information to help somebody. You're not helping them make money. You're helping them remove pain from their family, which means if you do it wrong, you could be bringing on more pain and punishment to their family. So I think there's an ethical responsibility. If you're going to teach it, you better be able to walk the talk and have done it and be able to prove some results,
Yeah, my favorite 3 questions, which is why I hit it off with you, is okay, if you're going to give guidance, advice, if you're going to be an expert or an authority, then you got to qualify my 3 questions, which is first question, what's the most amount of money you've ever made in a year? Second question, what's the biggest thing you've ever built, qualified by revenue, number of employees, and profitability? And then third, what's the biggest exit you've ever had? Now, if you're making $5 million a year and I want to make $5 million a year, I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah.
If you've built a company with 1,000 employees generating hundreds of millions, and generating tens of millions of profit, and that's what I want to do, I'm going to listen to you. If you've exited something for 100 million or a billion or 10 billion, and that's what I want to do, I'm going to listen to you. If you hadn't done it, I tell people also, you should not be listening to them, because at the end of the day, just because to your point, they've read about it, or they had a friend that did it, or they were along the ride. I'm sure you have some ex-employees that were like, I built this with him, but yet they didn't build the whole thing. They had their piece of it. So then you go and expect them to do it again, or they're all of a sudden an authority on it. There's so many missing pieces, and people are scribbling notes on how to do things. And to your point, if they go and apply it wrong, it can create more pain. And I think that's one thing when I talk to them, like, the obligation when you do have this knowledge to try to help people, but then we have to sift through all the bullshitters.
Yeah. Yeah. And a friend of mine, Brian Kurtz, super smart marketer, he said, when you've done it, you have a responsibility to share it when you've done it. Right. And then look, there's a lot of people out there, even today, they're bragging, they've grown these big service companies and different things. And you look at it and it's like, yeah, you got revenue, but you're starving and you can't sleep at night. Your profit. And look, I know it too, because my profit at one time was about 2%. We might've been doing 20 million. Yeah, I thought I was the cat's meow. We had no profit there. And one day I was spending a half a day with Jay Abraham, trying to learn from him. And he looked at me and he said something that changed. He looked at me and he said, what's the profit? And I said, it's like 2%. And it was like my daddy's like, that's horrible. That's all he told me. That's horrible. And when I left, I felt kind of like shamed and bad. I was like, I got to fix this. And just for everybody listening, like, it doesn't take a decade to fix things. Like, we literally went from 2% profit to double-digit profit in less than a year. And then a year later, for back then, it was a high multiple, let's just say, because I can't tell exact numbers, let's say it was between 7 and an 8 multiple, which in 2017 was huge. Today, Brandon, 22 multiples in the service industry. I mean, what are we talking about? We're talking about there's more wealth sitting in people's right in front of them. They don't even have any idea to capitalize on it.
No, and that's the part why that's why we're out telling it. I kind of pissed off, I did some podcasts to some of my friends that sold for 22 times in their private equity groups, and people out there weren't real thrilled because we're promoting what the potential value of a business is. And of course they want to buy at 6 to 8, right? They don't want to buy it at 15 to 20. So they want the arbitrage, and the average person, though, they haven't built a health, to your point, just because they have the revenues and if they're running 2%, they're not going to get that kind of multiple. Yeah. So equally to your point is when you put your attention and your focus on it, and you put a structure and a strategy, and if you can get a little help, you can drive your business to be much more profitable. There's an old saying my friend used to tell me. He said, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. Yeah. Like, the more profit you can generate, the more sanity you're going to have in business, and the more you can invest in things to grow it bigger. Yeah. So what were some of those things that you did do to drive profitability once you put your attention on it?
Well, look, processes equal profit, right? And it sounds easy because, everybody, and I've read it too, you read the E-Myth Revisited, the 72nd version of it. But the fact is, it's unless somebody grabs your hand, it's not that easy to pick it up from a book and implement. I couldn't until I hired people that really showed me how to create a process-driven company. And anything I'm sharing, everybody, I'm not here to brag with you, but like the last 5 years, at least in my service company, I didn't have an office. The thing ran itself. Yeah, I had a pulse on it like everyone else, but that's the first thing. The second thing is, I'm a huge believer that I solved. The first deal teaches you everything you don't know about doing a deal, right? Like, yeah. I was already teaching service companies how to sell companies, but I never sold one. That's like the fat gym teacher telling you how to get healthy, right? It didn't match. So I had to, even though people that I was teaching didn't like, I sold my $32 million business because they used to come and see it. I said, look, if I don't ever sell one, what does that mean? I'm teaching people how to sell one. And what I learned from that one is something that I hope everybody listens to. And you need someone to tell you this, or you don't know it. I looked at the pitch book. When you go to exit a company, they build this presentation book. Most of the brokers, they call it a pitch book. And I said to myself, well, I wonder if I built my own pitch book. I wonder if I built it from a marketer's perspective, and I built it years before I needed it, what would happen? So I went and laid down the whole blueprint, what the numbers, who would be the future buyers of this thing, how would I position it? And I built both of the deals. I said, let me build this thing and then let me grow into that pitch book. Because, everybody says, when should you be ready to exit? Well, you should be building it to exit at any moment when it makes sense. But how the hell do you do that if you don't even have the blueprint plan ready? That was a game changer for me, because all I did was grow into the pitch book I built. Pretty simple formula.
Dude, you and I are so alike there. And then when I did prepare it and went to market, the bankers were like, dude, nobody is going to bid on this thing the way you're presenting it. Because I would go in and I'd say, hey, Brandon Dawson, $35 million of revenue, $2 million of EBITDA. If you bought me, I'll add $2 billion of value to your market cap. I want 10%. So I want 200 million. Nobody said, dude, you're a lunatic for wanting, 100 times EBITDA. Everyone said, what do you mean you're going to add $2 billion to our business? How would you do that? And then I was able to present what we did and overlay it on top of their business. But, it took me a few years to build into that. And I had to study all my acquisition targets too, to know what their behavior was. So to your point, the more clear, the more concise, the more specific, and the more committed you are to that, the higher valuation you're going to get. And worse, you're going to be told no. But I'd rather be told no than go to the market with what a lot of these people do is they go to market with a bad broker. They end up selling, and then they find out they sold for a lot less than what they could have got.
Yeah. Everything I've grown as a movement. In the beginning, I wanted to make money, but let's face it, just like maybe some people listening to yourself. I mean, and I'm not saying debt's good or bad. Everybody could debate, they're different, but I mean, I've been debt free since I'm 28. Now, does that mean I didn't leverage money? Come on, you don't build companies without understanding that. But the fact is, when you look at people today growing a company, if you look at it as through the eyes of creating a movement, really something that changes a world, an industry, a niche, whatever, well, then it's easy for someone to look at that. Someone who wants to take it over and go, I could do it bigger, better, and different than you. And that's the fact. I mean, with my companies, I could have grown bigger, but you also got to know when you're hitting your capacity on what you want to do. And I was just on a podcast before this, and someone said, well, what happens? Why do people change over time? I said, well, first thing you got to understand, mindset is what everybody wants to tell you it is. Yeah, it's important. But the fact is, if you filled your mind with concrete, your mind would be set. I'm a big believer in mind growth, and ascension and evolution is mandatory. If you're growing a successful company, you're evolving. And if you're evolving, you're going to move out of one and move into something bigger to make a bigger impact in the world. It's my reality, at least.
When I'm talking to somebody who's completed a cycle, and then multiple cycles, you just know when they know. Like the thing I hope people are paying attention to in the way you're communicating is when you've actually completed a cycle and you understand it and you realize there's something bigger and you can have a bigger purpose, and then you do it again. You can tell, you can pick up the clues versus the people who are talking about doing it or reporting what other people did. Right.
You don't even understand. You don't even understand war until you've been through due diligence. Like no one understands until you spend 20 years building something and you go through 3, 4, 5 months of due diligence. It will make your 20 years feel like a cakewalk compared to what you have to know, do, be put through. I mean, they're pretty much going inside of you and outside of you. And you're right. Unless somebody has lived through the cycle, they shouldn't talk about the cycle.
No, especially, because I know there had to be moments where you thought this is going to be a done deal. And then there's moments where you're like, uh-oh, what if it doesn't close? And then, oh, this is going to be a done deal. Uh-oh, what if it doesn't close? Uh-oh, it's going to be a done deal. Uh-oh, what if it doesn't close? And then keeping your team entirely focused during the process instead of all them counting their money, because what I've seen is then when there's a sale fail, they're bitter and they think the owner let them down. And all of a sudden the whole energy in the organization, and what people don't understand is when these guys come in and do this due diligence, they'll offer you those big multiples, but they come in and use this due diligence and the quality of earnings audits to try to shove it back down your throat, dangling money in front of you, knowing you emotionally bought in, to see if they can steal it from you. And until you've been through those cycles, it's just, to your point, man, there's no way somebody would really know in those dark moments how hard decision-making is.
Yeah, I mean, in the first deal, I call it machine gun cursing. Like, I'm in one vehicle, my partner's in another one. We're on with the broker. We're cursing, spit's coming out of our mouth because you think it's going to go one way and then it goes another way. On the second acquisition I did, it's pretty interesting. We were looking because we wanted to go global. We knew that we wanted smarter people than us to make a bigger impact. And COVID came right after we had 7 people at the table, and they all said, "See ya, baby. We're out of Dodge." And I get it. They had big portfolios. What the hell was my business? And then I just said, okay. But, it's like sales. Like, you're never desperate. And any sale I've ever did, like, if they said no, or I never heard it, I only heard not yet. I never heard the word no. Same thing when the pandemic came. And guess what? 8 months later, we did a deal anyway, because the fact was, if anybody that lived through this whole pandemic thing, like, if you weren't prepared that something was going to come after an election that we went through, you had blinders on. And to think something won't come again, you got blinders on. Like, you get prepared for what's to come, not what's right in front of you.
That's so good, dude. When I was on, we set up 6 studios in my house when it hit, and because I was on with so many business owners and I had my teams on, and we were talking about all the different, so I got, quite honestly, when people keep asking me the same question, I get bored engaging. So I sat down and cranked out a book called The Emergency Business Response, What to Do in Emergency or Crisis in Business, so that at least I could say, when they'd ask me, I'd say, read the book. Like, I wouldn't even have to tell them what to do. And we had 28,000 downloads in 6 weeks. And all of a sudden, I had business owners that thought their lives were entirely devastated. And the main point is, the businesses that position themselves correctly take advantage of moments and disruptions like that. And the businesses that were already poorly run were going to fail at some point anyway. It just pulled it forward. And so I got, just like your deal, I got a friend who was on the cusp of closing the biggest deal of his life. He was going to sell for, I'm just make this number up, $150 million. They were 4 days from wire, 4 days from getting the wire. COVID shut their whole business down. They scrambled to stay in business. I mean, he was one of my best friends. And so I was on with him all the time. Do this, cut this, whack that, stop this, lean into that. And the resilience in his team came out. Well, come out on the other side, say 15 months later, they were able to assimilate about 9 of their competitors who weren't prepared, who didn't know what to do, who weren't getting advice, and assimilated him. Now he's a globe, come out the other side. He's a global organization. Wow. And the business is now today, this is what, been 24 months now. Today, the business is worth about $500 million.
Wow.
Because he got all their contracts. Yep. And he's like, in 3 years, I'll sell for $1 billion. So what I would just tell any business owner, and I think you would agree with this, is prepare yourself. But most importantly, instead of just assuming in the moment everything's going to go bad, think about how you could turn it into a huge advantage and start being very strategic about how you react to things.
Yeah, we own a 15,000 square foot building for the CEO Word business, and I own another 10,000 square foot building, and I own both of them, and the companies that did deals still rent them from us. And we were doing 35 3-day events a year, which is quite a few 3-day events. We flipped them to online immediately. And then the industry in the world, they go, everybody's getting Zoom fatigue. And I said, no, people aren't getting Zoom fatigue. You suck on Zoom. Nobody's got Zoom fatigue on trainings I've done, because I understand how to do it and engage it. And then said, well, Mike, because we do a lot of experiential stuff. I mean, yep. in our live events, people are strapping on MMA gloves, writing stuff. They're carrying heavy bags. I mean, whatever way we got to do to break the horse to get them to transform their thinking. And then once you transform their thinking, you can make monkeys grow businesses, you know? And they were like, oh, are you going to bring the experiential? We shipped stuff to their house and brought the experience in their house and have them well, in martial arts, I'm a martial artist for over 3 decades. We have these things called makiwara boards. I don't know if it, you know, you punch it to condition your hands, old school. We shipped them to the house with MMA gloves, and we created the same experience virtual with hundreds of companies. So it wasn't a matter, you know, it's not difficult. It's just different. And if people could just take that away from this that we're talking about, that things aren't difficult, they're different. And this one, I hate this. I'll share it. I just shared it with my son today. I hate when people, I told him today, throw it back at me. Things aren't done to you, they're done for you. Now it sucks in the moment to hear that. No one likes to hear that. But if you look back in time, if you made new decisions, it was, man, it made you stronger. Yep. You know, I've lived through lawsuits and everything else. They don't kill you. If they don't kill you, they do make you smarter, then stronger.
100%. And it's that resilience. It's that resilience that at any given specific moment in time, those that have been there, when they communicate about it, you know, it's real because you, like, for me, there are things that have happened in my past. The minute I start talking about them, I start tearing up. I just can't, I just can't, because it was such a painful moment, but it created the person I am today. And when I was talking to you, I could feel that energy. And so I agree with you. And there's a lot of great businesses were created during COVID.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's been empires. Look, when COVID came in, we knew immediately we had to help our clients, and we did. The industry in the service industry, the plumber, HVAC, electric industry, was down 27%, they said. And our clients, the smallest one was up 100%. And people go, how was that? Well, look, we had to help them navigate fear, right? That's what most people are trying to navigate, and they don't know how to navigate. They're fearing a future that didn't happen. And we just said, look, let's buckle down and let's start to look. Let's focus on our team. What do we want them to think? Because if you let your team controlled by the media, you're done. It's the same thing in 2008. I had my service company. I mean, those listening, you remember 2008? I said it was the closest thing to the Great Depression. Now, I never had a down year, never had a flat year. The minimum we added was an extra million. There's one phrase we said in 2008, and you guys could apply it today, was this. I went in front, I probably had 125 employees at the time. I said, I refuse to participate in what they're telling us. I refuse to participate in the economy. We're our own economy. Shut everything off, and we cruised right through it. Now, some people, you're going to need that maybe today for some of you, and some of you might need that in the future.
100%, dude. 100%. What you talk about, you find more of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to do when you want to know why people are struggling is listen to them.
Oh yeah. Look, your world, and everybody should write this one down. Your world is nothing more than a reflection of yourself in the mirror. That's it. Right. If you look at yourself in the mirror, everything you have, people go, no, you don't know me. I was broke and I'm sick and this and that. I get there's some weird things that happen to all of us. I swear the world's constantly trying to bring you back to homeostasis, right? Like how many things, I'm sure you can relate. Like I guarantee you, along with me, had a lot of great things happen the last couple months. I bet you had some shit happen that you didn't want to happen too. And it brings you back into a reality of neutral where you go, okay, what am I going to create next? And then you just got to navigate that next water of things that's happening, you know?
100%. I teach a leadership program and I talk about the 4 A's: acknowledge, accept, act towards what you want. And then as you gain momentum, attack it. Take time out of the equation, right? And try to get time and money to flip and start working for you. Look, I've interviewed lots of people that have disease. They started broke. They became broke multiple times. They had kids die, commit suicide, the most horrible things, right? That you can experience. And yet they exemplified resilience and determination on the other side of that. Yeah. So although those moments were significant and impactful, they didn't pull them off of target. And maybe, if anything, they propelled them to the next level of success, especially with your martial arts background. I've had martial arts experiences not for the last 25 years, but that's how I stayed healthy all through high school and up into my mid to late 20s. Sparring was such a great activity. I like that over any of the CrossFits and things that my friends were doing, but it wasn't called CrossFit back then. Talk about the determination and resilience in the mindset, but also studying the art of the craft over and over and over and over until that moment comes where you need to apply it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, martial arts is a great metaphor for that, right? If you asked me, what's the number one thing you did in life that you believe helped you get to success, I would say martial arts. I mean, it helps with focus and discipline, repetition. And my instructor was old school. So it was what they called an underground dojo. And they would put you in horse stance, right? Like you're riding a horse, and they would have you punch. And you would just punch and punch. And he said, all the magic happens at the point that you could break past your point of wanting to quit. That's when all the magic happens. And I mean, you would punch till you feel like you're bleeding to death. You feel like you're sweating that. I think what happens,
your legs want to buckle.
Oh, yeah. And I think today people are sabotaging themselves. Like, look, at the point you think gas is too much. I was sharing this. My daughter and I, we just flew back from San Diego, which was really cool. We got daddy-daughter tattoos in San Diego.
That's awesome, dude.
Awesome. She's 20, my daughter Caitlin, and we zip lined over San Diego has this safari out there, and we zip lined over top of like gazelles and shit. It was really, really cool. And she looked at the price of gas. She said, look at that. It was like $6.70 or something a gallon. I said, you know who's not worried about the price of gas? She said, who? I said, the people that don't have a money problem don't focus on the price of gas. They look at it and they say, well, hang on a second. How can I get gas for free? Maybe they could go and help the gas station, or maybe there's marketing there. Like there's always an angle to make it irrelevant, the cost of gas. Like nobody wealthy is complaining about the price of gas. What they're doing is strategizing to make it not even a conversation in their mind, right? That's what they're doing. When you look at breaking through these boundaries, the boundary you're breaking through is always all the training that your dad gave you, your mom gave you, right? Only take one piece of candy.
Yeah, the schools, the churches,
you feel bad, right? And what happens is the world's living with guilt, shame, trauma, right? That's why I entered the world. I was like, hang on a second. If you look at a life wheel, right? There's spiritual in there, relationship and health and career. Everyone dives so much into the career. But here's the reality. When you're fighting with your wife or your partner, you don't give a shit about your business. You don't. If you have a health problem, you don't care about your business. What I found out was, you know what? Let's optimize the 9/10 and you'll grow a business at the speed of light, because your brain will be so clear, so focused. But so many people, Brandon, they don't do that. They're so into the business. And then everybody's so jacked up by these thoughts of like, everything is gospel, like, the 4-hour work week, like you should only people, you haven't met your trainers. Oh, I only work 2 hours a week. I said, okay, that's fabulous. I feel bad for you. You hate what you do so much. You would only do 2 hours of work. We should get rid of that shit. We should get rid of it because you hate it that much. I said, how about doing something? Like, I don't understand the difference. My wife and I talk about it. And I've been with my wife since I'm 15 years old, my beautiful wife, Jennifer. Like, we talk of like, Sunday is no different than Monday or Tuesday to us. We don't prescribe to this. Monday sucks. Wednesday's hump day. Thank God it's Friday. Try to process your life on the weekend and go back to it. It's like, if I'm doing one of these, I'll do this podcast Sunday night at 8 p.m. You know why? Because when you live to serve at that level, you don't look at that normal everyday structure the world's trying to live within.
100%, dude. In fact, we had 142 events last year.
Wow, it's huge.
So like we had GrowthCon. So we had an event on Wednesday, Thursday, then we had GrowthCon Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then we had an event Monday for a mastermind, and then we flew back to Arizona. We have 2 groups here right now. We'll go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 different groups. And then we rinse and repeat. There's no days. There's no every day, all 7 days. I call them impact days. Every day is an impact day. And I'm with you. In fact, there'll be days where we'll wake up and people will say to us, well, what are you going to do on Tuesday? And I'll be like, when's Tuesday? Like, I don't even know.
Right.
I've lost the full context of, especially traveling between Miami and Arizona because of the time zone shift. Cause I was like, I'm going back. I just picked up 3 hours. We could do something when we land. Right.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is how people have been conformed to believing they got to fit into this strange algorithm.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing to hear you say that, because look, I've done so many podcasts, and I talk to so many business owners. I'm just going to make this statement. There's very like you and I, from what you're saying, I feel like we think almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it's represented in our commitment to what we're doing every day. And that's why I wanted to have you on my show. It's like, I interview so many people that their whole life is about talking about what people should do.
Yeah.
But doing it, like, I don't have a work week.
Yeah.
I have a life week. Like, I live life all week.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's how you and your wife live. And congratulations, by the way. You look like you're probably 28. So, 15 to 28 isn't very long.
I'll take it.
But you got a 20-year-old daughter.
Level 51, I call it, because I would never call myself 51 years old. Every level I got stronger, smarter, and faster. That's how I live. It comes down to this for a lot of people. And I did it myself. So everybody listening, please don't be like, oh, Mike never made mistakes. I did everything wrong. That's why I'm helping you do things right. It comes down to identity. I was a fake for many years. When I went out and started coaching, I said, oh, I got to show up. I'm button down shirt. I look like all GQ and shit, like my Backstreet Boy picture and stuff. And I was like a fake to the world. And one day I told my wife, I said, this is killing me, right? I'm all tattooed. I'm buttoned down, choking to death. She said, well, just stop. She made it so simple. She just stop. I threw out all this stuff and I went to the world. And my question for all of you listening is, are you living who you really want to be? Or are you living some creation you think your mom needs you to be, or your wife needs you to be, or your kids? Like, when you get back to your true identity of who you want to be, and identity for people today, they think, oh, my identity. I used to do this too, because I built a company called CEO Warrior, right? And so I used to think, well, I'm just a warrior identity in everything. Well, that may not work out well when you're trying to console your 10-year-old daughter, right? She may not need a warrior. She might need a loving dad in that moment. So what I figured out after all these years was, wait a second, it's not one identity you need. You need to identify the identity you need in each area of your life, because they're different. And when you define them different and change them and remove the trash out of your head, which sounds easy, but it is not as easy as think positive. Look, there's no positive and negative anyway. There's only the definition you choose to give it. People always give me that, well, you got to think positive. I said, okay, cool. Tsunami comes in, kills 100,000 people, positive or negative? Negative, they tell me. I said, okay, negative. Okay, well, what about this? Now they put in evacuation systems. If this had happened 10 years from now, 1 million people would have died. Positive or negative? Now they're all conflicted with me, right? They don't know how to. My wife says you're like a purple unicorn. We know they fucking exist. We just don't know. We never really see one anymore, right? And it says, I get it. Like, what if you change that? There's no right and wrong. There's no positive and negative, only the definition. This could literally shift the way you think today. And if you want to grow a company and grow massive wealth, and what is massive wealth anyway, right? To a poor person, it's $100. We're talking legacy wealth, right? Where it goes on beyond you, and not just legacy wealth of money, it's legacy wealth of knowledge. And Brandon, I'm sure you heard people, oh my God, this person probably 20 years ago said to me, Mike, money's not everything. I said, yeah, perfectly well said from a broke ass individual. Of course it's not, but it just fed somebody that couldn't eat. It just gave water to someone that didn't have water. It just changed my mom's life that maybe couldn't afford her teeth to get done. So maybe it's not everything, but sure to hell helps more than not having it. You got me all cranked up now on here.
Yeah, you're right, dude. I mean, I love this. You should be cranked up. You know why? Because when you come through the other side and you see what what it takes to get there, but then you see the benefit of actually doing it. For those people that are trying to dismiss it because they don't have the courage, will, intellect, commitment, resilience, whatever it is. So they start rationalizing, justifying, and excusing it. And that probably isn't even their thought, to be honest with you. That was probably the thought of somebody else that told them whatever they were going to try to go do was stupid and they should focus on just being happy and other things. You know, people get so directed in their life by what I call polling, asking people, do you think I should do this? Do you think I should do that? Should I go over here? Should I spend my money on that?
They told me, look, when I was growing a service company in New Jersey, it was called Gold Medal Service. I said, I'm going to grow this into a big company. Okay. And big probably would be 25 or 50 service trucks. I grew to 165 service trucks. I mean, shit, we crashed into the same bridge 8 damn times before we figured out to put a sticker and make sure they don't hit the bridge. And people said, oh, there's too many companies in New Jersey. And then I proved that wrong. Then they turned around and I grew the company CEO Warrior. And I was calling myself in the beginning, 8 years ago, I called myself the business ninja. And they mocked and they made fun of me, the business ninja. And then we grew that thing into something. I mean, we've had 20 companies that we helped. We didn't get a part of it. I might have redid that different if I was to be transparent, but we didn't get a part of it. 20 companies sold in the last 15 months. One of the smallest ones was 10 million. Biggest one sold over 30 something million plus. And they told me, so here's what I'm going to tell you today. I want all of you, you should go out and tell somebody your next craziest wild idea and just tell them to say, please tell me after I'm done, it sucks, it's horrible, and it won't work. That's what I tell everybody. The new company Food Dog Group I built, I said, just tell me it's horrible. There's too many people helping people. It won't work. I had a couple of people go, oh, I don't know. I said, okay, now watch what I do. Everybody needs their personal fuel and momentum. It might be, I've been on my own since I'm 15. It might be because you're young. It might be because you're broke. It might be whatever reason. Find that inner momentum inside of you and just hunger for it like you hunger for red meat.
No, I love it, dude. I tell people, fine. You know, everyone needs, we had our growth con and our first speaker, we surprised the group, was Donald Trump. And we wanted to polarize the group, right? But we also had the black bishop come out. We had like we had left, we had right, but we wanted to stun everybody. And the one thing Donald Trump said was, everyone needs an enemy. Like if you have an enemy, and sometimes that enemy is just the opinions of the people around you. Like it doesn't have to be an actual person. It can be a thing. Yeah. And he said, because if you have the enemy, you have to go after the enemy. Now that doesn't mean you attack them. You attack the principle. So if somebody says you can't do something, that thing they say you can't do becomes the enemy. And now attacking that becomes the principle versus attacking the person, because he says, you're never going to win if you're attacking the person. And he rightfully said, I think I'm the most attacked person on the planet. and he said, and so, you know, you can't let that pull you off target, because he said before I was president, if I got attacked as much as I got attacked now, it might have stopped me from wanting to become president, right? Like it could have, because he said, I used to react to things and get pissed off and stuff. And he said, I had some great mentors once I started realizing, hey, I'm going to actually potentially win this thing. I sought some guidance and counsel, which most people wouldn't think he would do. But he's like, he gave significant examples of how he had to recalibrate his thinking, not to be so reactive. And he goes, and then even then, you're not going to change who I am. So there was moments where I couldn't help myself. But I think that the point in all that is we all need an enemy, and we need to attack the enemy. And the enemy for most people is just the false belief about what can or cannot happen.
Yeah. Look, if people could understand that in life, sometimes you have to be the villain. Sometimes you're going to be the hero. The delusion is to think you're always the hero and never the villain, or always the villain and never the hero. When you could accept that you carry all pieces of that in yourself, then all of a sudden you can move forward in a totally different way. But that talk, sorry, I didn't hear that talk. That sounds like that was.
Yeah. Well, I think we're selling for the replay of all the speakers for like $1,000. But we had phenomenal speakers there. But I just, it was definitely, we definitely stunned people with who we brought in, and because we didn't promote who was coming this first year, we didn't tell them one speaker name. So it was pretty cool. Look, dude, man, I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm looking forward to watching your continued success, finding a way maybe to collaborate and do some things together. And I just want to give you kudos, dude, and anybody listening to this, tell people how to find you.
Yeah, if you go to fooddog.com, FUDOG group.com, you'll end up right on our website. Check it out. I'm all over social media. Look me up. wrote like 18 books, so you can find a cool book. And if any of you are struggling, you're just so broke off your ass, private message me on Facebook. I'll send you a free book. I'll help you. I don't want any human to struggle on the planet. So I don't want this to be a drive-by. You listen to it. Let's find a way, create a relationship with everybody out there. And if there's any way I could serve, just boom, hit me up.
Awesome, dude. Hey, congratulations on your success. More so on you being an example to others and your commitment to serving them and helping them. I appreciate you being on the B. Dawson Show. And trust me, everybody, this won't be the last you guys hear from them. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks, man. Boom.